Today's Mercedes-Benz interview of the day brought to you by Mercedes-Benz EV. What makes a Mercedes-Benz EV different? Electric is what gets you there, but Mercedes is what moves you. The vehicle's all electric, the feeling all Mercedes. Choice all yours. Learn more at mbusa.com/EQ. We're waiting for Wally Szczerbiak, the CBS Sports College Basketball analyst. Full introduction, Wally Szczerbiak, CBS Sports College Basketball studio analyst, Knicks color analyst, 6th overall pick by the Timberwolves in 1999, 2002 NBA All-Star, 2000 NBA All-Rookie First Team, MAC Player of the Year in 1999, led Miami of Ohio to Sweet 16 in 1999 NCAA Tournament. Wally wanted me to mention all of those things. I just thought I could just say Wally Szczerbiak from CBS Sports, but oh boy, here comes an ego here. Good morning, Wally. How are you today?
Good morning. I'm doing great. You nailed it too, Dan.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
How many times was your name misspelled in the NBA on your jersey?
At least 3. I remember my rookie year in Minnesota for sure. Our wonderful equipment manager, Clayton Wilson, just an outstanding guy, just a great dude. Like, we had a lot of fun together, laughing, joking. He actually, I don't know if it was him or if it was the person that actually, like, it was on a road trip and I got blood on my jersey and then he had to go to the replacement one and the replacement one was spelled wrong. So I had to wear it for the rest of the game, but we got it fixed after that.
Did you keep those jerseys that were misspelled?
I don't think so. I think pretty much, when you play in the NBA, you kind of get one jersey at the end of each season, like each, whatever, like the road, the home, the secondary one, the crazy color one, like you get one of each jersey to keep. But I think most of mine were all spelled correctly.
All right, let's recap what we saw the first 4 days. What stands out, good or bad?
What stands out is the domination of Purdue so far. They were outstanding yesterday. They absolutely blew Utah State off the floor. Utah State, didn't look like they even belonged in the same gym with Purdue. And it just goes to show you that what Purdue has done from last year to this year to retool their roster, to kind of pick up some transfers. Lance Jones has been outstanding. They just have Matt Painter's done a great job to put that in the rearview mirror. And it looks like they're on a collision course with UConn in the national championship game.
But it feels, and I said this will sound strange, but you can get away with having a big man in college basketball. Whereas in the NBA, the traditional big man is gone. But you have a couple of guys in here. Why is it in college basketball, or maybe this is an aberration, that the big men are, front and center?
A lot of people are saying Zach Edey can't play in the NBA and isn't going to be impactful. I beg to differ. You look at a guy like Boban Marjanovic. He's played a little bit. He's had a little bit of an impact. Zach Edey is a similar player, and I think he's a lot more mobile. I think he's really worked on his lateral movement. I think he's done a good job of getting his body in the best possible shape he could possibly get it in. And the bottom line is when he camps out there in the lane 5 feet from the basket, puts his arms up like this, you can't get around him to deflect the inbound, the entry pass into the post. And when he catches it, he's really tough to stop. I mean, look at a guy like Yao Ming, the success he had in the NBA. Granted, it was a different era and the game was played a different way, but Zach Edey's more athletic than Yao Ming. I played against Yao Ming. It took him a long time to get going front and back on a straight line, and he also could not move laterally very well at all. And Zach Edey's been really working on his mobility. It's going to be interesting to see how it translates because he's a big-time factor. We saw it yesterday. He was an unguardable force. He makes his free throws. He's pretty good blocking shots on the defensive end of the floor. So I would think there are going to be some NBA teams that give him a legit shot to make it.
But NC State has a big guy in DJ Burns. I mean, he's a different big guy. Connecticut, has a big man as well in Clingan. So we're seeing the big man have at least a role, and I wondered if it's college coaches may not be in love with the three because Danny Hurley, they run an old school pick and roll, and it feels like I likened him to Jim Harbaugh at Michigan. It's old school football. He's running old school basketball at Connecticut, and it feels like as a college coach you can control the volume of threes, whereas in the NBA. It feels like everybody gets to shoot it.
Well, the thing is, everyone can shoot it in the NBA, and it's different in college. Not everyone can shoot that open three. And as a result, the court becomes less spaced. There's less driving lanes to get to the basket. To me, Donovan Clingan, his impact is on the defensive end of the floor. When you have a guy like that who has the type of mobility that he does, you can't post up and score on him one-on-one. He's just going to block your shot. If one of your outside perimeter guys gets beaten off the dribble, he's waiting at the rim to protect the rim. So he doesn't allow points in the paint. He doesn't allow points at the rim because he's such a good shot blocker and rim protector. And what makes him so effective over a guy like Zach Edey is he can guard pick and roll. He can move his feet. He can even switch onto a guard. He can space a guard because he's so long. And then when a guard goes up to shoot, he can get up there and contest and block the shot. And he can also move his feet to the point where the guard can't get around him. To me, the biggest impact of Clingan is on the defensive end of the floor. He's, to me, the defensive player of the year in college basketball because he allows Danny Hurley to do so many things with his defense because he makes up for so many mistakes and cleans up the mess so many times.
Wally Szczerbiak, CBS Sports College basketball studio analyst. How much of an underdog Cinderella story is NC State?
They're definitely an underdog. DJ Burns is one of my favorite players to watch. He's so skilled at his size with that left hand. He has such a feathery left hand touch. When he catches that ball in the post, he makes tough shots. He goes high off the glass, half hooks, you name it. And he's the best passing big man in basketball I've seen in a long time. When he gets that ball in the post and he sees one inkling of double team coming, right when that guy comes to start moving, he gets the ball out of his hands, he whips it cross court to an open jump shooter, and it's right on target. And the shooter can just catch and release. At the same time, they are an 11 seed, but they did win the ACC tournament. And, they beat Carolina, who's playing outstanding basketball. So for them to continue this, obviously it's a Cinderella story, but they're showing that they have the matchup makeup where they can match up with every individual team. And if they play their game, they can definitely continue to move on and get wins. And they've been a fun story to watch them keep rolling.
What was it like for that fame that you had when you guys were making a run in the tournament in 1999? Like, it was fast.
It was. It really was. I think I'm lucky because my dad played professional basketball. He played in the ABA, the NBA, and also in Europe. He played for Real Madrid. So he was able to kind of, just ground me a little bit. I realized that obviously the most important thing for me was what happened on the basketball court. And all the other stuff is great, but you can't let that affect your focus on what you need to do on the court and your job on the court. I give Miami's, SID team, they were outstanding. And just kind of, practice was locked off. Practice was the time where we focused to prepare for our games. After practice, 30 minutes of media flooded in, Sports Illustrated, Sporting News, Jim Rome, Dan Patrick Show. There was an allotted time to do all the media stuff. But then when it was time to play, my coaches, my teammates, we were focused on the job at hand. And that's how I was able to handle it.
Yeah, because if you were having a run like you did back then, you would have a Buffalo Wild Wings commercial by right now, right?
That's a good point. They were selling Wally World T-shirts on campus, and they were selling like hotcakes. They were going crazy. So it was a completely different era. Obviously, you have to definitely, those are distractions. And I could only imagine what a guy like Baycott, kind of has to deal with. When he's got an Intuit TurboTax, sponsorship deal, and then he's going back to the locker room with his teammates that are looking at him like, I don't have any sponsorship deals like that. But that's kind of how it is in the NBA too. You're in an NBA locker room, and nowadays you have a guy making 40 million, 50 million, and you have a guy making 2-3 million. So it's just the dynamic of sports. I never let that get in the way of the focus of my job. The focus of your team is whether you're the best player or whether you're the 12th man on the bench. Do your job to the best of your ability, and then your team is going to have ultimate team success. It's all about team success. I'm working for the Knicks now. I see how Tom Thibodeau preaches to his team. Next man up, do whatever's best for the team. Don't worry about anything else. Don't let the distractions bother our goal, which is to win basketball games on a nightly basis. And luckily, I had people around me that were able to help me with that at that young age.
Help me understand what Bill Self is talking about when he says for the last month he's been looking ahead to next year, which I'm guessing that's the transfer portal or NIL or both, while you're still in the moment of getting your team ready for the tournament.
Those were very interesting words, and he's just being honest. And Bill Self's one of the best. And what I love about him is he's so genuine. The transfer portal opened last Monday. That needs to change, in my opinion. That puts so much pressure and stress on coaches who are still trying to prepare their team to win a national championship. And Kansas was a 4 seed. They obviously, had some issues with their roster this year. They had to lean heavily on their starting 5. As a result, you play those ton of minutes in a conference like the Big 12, guys are going to start getting hurt. Kevin McCullough hurt his knee, couldn't play in the NCAA tournament. Hunter Dickinson dislocated his shoulder, and luckily he was himself in the NCAA tournament because, Bill Self wants to see his guys healthy. He wants to see his guys peaking in March, and he was not able to assemble a roster with enough depth to get those guys through the regular season and healthy in March. As a result, I think he's trying to learn from this year and learn from those injuries that he had to deal with and learn from a short roster where he didn't have anyone he could trust coming off the bench to give meaningful minutes.
Yeah, but why do we have this transfer portal now? I'm trying to. Does this have something to do with a school and semesters, or why would you do this during the tournament? Dan, it's crazy.
Dan, I could not agree with you more. That is the most ludicrous thing I've ever heard of. The fact that the transfer portal opens during the NCAA tournament, and there are actually players that are playing on rosters in the NCAA tournament that put their names in the portal. That is complete lunacy to me, and that needs to be changed. Along with a few other things, the NCAA does a relatively good job, but it's a work in progress. This is a couple years that have completely changed college basketball, and the landscape will never be the same. It's never going to be the way I played back in 1999. It's a completely different ball game, and it continues to change, on a year-to-year basis. So they're learning. I think they're going to adjust and they're going to move it back. I think that would be a very smart move to do. But at the same time, they haven't done it yet. So it puts teams in the NCAA tournament.
Well, imagine that one of your kids is put his name in the transfer portal, and that you're still playing in the tournament.
I could. That's crazy. That is complete lunacy to me. And what if you need to put him in the game and someone gets hurt and he just starts lighting it up and playing great, and then all of a sudden he's thinking to himself, well, maybe I don't want to. I mean, it's just, I don't get it. I think you can put your name in the transfer portal at different times. It opens last Monday, so you can put it in last Monday. You can wait till your season ends, see how the season plays out during the NCAA tournament, and then right when the season ends, put your name in the portal. So it is different timing. Different players go in at different times. That's what makes it so difficult for the coaches, because they're trying to plan their roster and go with whoever's in there at the beginning, whereas some guys wait till later on, a couple months after the season. All of a sudden they pop in the portal, and it's like, well, I wish I would have saved a spot in the scholarship for that guy. Instead, I went for a guy that put their name in early in the portal. And as a result, it's been very difficult for coaches to navigate it.
Before I let you go, I'm fascinated by the TVs that you have there in your office. How old are those TVs, Wally?
These are my dad's TVs. This is my dad's office. So it's a great question. They're actually multi-system TVs because he used to work for the ACB, the Spanish Basketball League. So he needed to convert the videotapes over to, the European kind of style. So he needed the SAP and all those different TVs. And I don't know, he just, they must be something that he just likes to watch old tapes of himself on and videos of himself on. So there you go.
Are some of your trophies in your dad's office?
Yeah, he's got a few trophies in here. He's got one of my things up there. If you can see it, that's a nice little. This was in high school when my dad had a nice article about me, when I was just starting to bud on Long Island in Newsday. This is my dad playing for the George Washington Colonials.
Oh, nice hair.
Yeah, he played for GW. He was a great player, my dad, in his day. So, I learned everything from him basketball wise, and that's actually him up there at Real Madrid. He played for Real Madrid, won 2 European Cups.
Did you
So he was.
did you learn to not play defense from your dad as well?
He wasn't known for his defense either. But we tried. We gave our best effort. We made up for it with our jump shots.
If not UConn, then who wins it all?
I think Purdue. Purdue's on the other side of the bracket, so they could meet in the final. And Zach Edey is just such a problem, and he posed so many issues. And honestly, they could have blown out Utah State by 60 if they didn't pull the starters out. And Utah State's a pretty good team that won the regular season Mountain West crown. So and then the pieces, the way they fit this year, the maturity of Braden Smith and Lawyer being a year older, they just look like a completely different team. And that was a dominating performance. So I think they're on a collision course for UConn in the final.
Great stuff. Thanks for joining us as always, Wally.
You got it, Dan. All the best.
That's Wally Szczerbiak. SZCZERBIAK. Szczerbiak.